I've been the best ever since day one when I walked into this company, and I've been vilified and hated since that day because Paul Heyman saw something in me that nobody else wanted to admit. That's right, I'm a Paul Heyman guy.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time for another video with my buddy Perch from the Comics by Perch channel. Thought we would talk about some of the wonderful heel turns. Well, I would say the worst heel turns in comic book history. How you doing, Perch?
I'm doing great. This is a great topic and timely with the season finale of Ted Lasso. I mean, talking heel turns.
I love a good heel turn. I remember when Hulk Hogan turned. I remember when we had the Bret Hart heel turn. A good heel turn is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, when you get a bad heel turn, like every time the Giant or Big Show or whatever did a heel turn, it could not go so well. So we're going to talk about some of the worst heel turns in the history of comic books. Are you good for this, Perch?
I'm good for this. I like how you completely no-sold the Ted Lasso and went into wrestling. That's okay. You're right about Paul White, man. Well, the problem is they turned him like every 6 months.
Yes, you even turned too often. I apparently just did a heel turn yesterday.
Oh, really?
Maybe a couple of days ago. Once this video goes up, I was like, I've never really watched Batman the animated series.
Oh, yeah, that's a shame.
It came out when I was in high school.
Yeah,
I didn't really watch cartoons. Everyone's like, I unsubscribed. I was like, over that. I was like, I've seen Mask of the Phantasm. I've seen a few episodes here and there. People just were dumping on me.
That's weird. I gotta say. I mean, that's a good show. You should try and watch it, but get your HBO Max and watch it. But still.
You don't get HBO Max here. If I get HBO Max, I got to get one of those stupid VPNs. And then to get the VPN to work on the TV is an absolute pain in the butt still.
Well, you see, Wes, this is how you get VPN, like ExpressVPN, the quality VPN service that will happily fund your channel like so many other YouTubers. ExpressVPN, it's for you.
Well, that's what I need to do. But let's get into some comic book heel turns. Apparently, I've done a couple. You've been crapping on Arby's for weeks now.
That's a face turn, but yes, that's okay.
No, get out of here with that. First one we'll talk about is actually from a creator I somewhat like, although I haven't seen much from Andy Diggle as of late. We're talking Daredevil, the Shadowland event. It feels like Marvel has tried to kind of forget about this, but basically we have Matt Murdock returning from Japan in a black Daredevil suit as the leader of the Head, and he turns Hell's Kitchen into a prison, declares war on any hero that opposes him. He even fights his old friends in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, that didn't work very well. I mean, the idea of Matt Murdock being consumed by evil and this kind of demon influence and other things in him, it didn't play off well at all. The problem is, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, is coolest as a street level hero doing street level things. And so if you're going to suddenly tie him in as leader of the Hand and kind of a demonic influence taking on the Avengers, like that doesn't make any sense. Nobody wants that. It didn't fit his character. It sucked.
Yeah, it absolutely goes, generally speaking, against what the character's core beliefs are. Is obviously he's got a foundation of faith in all this. Next thing you know, he's like possessed by a demon.
Yeah,
get out of here with that stuff. That's why I liked in Chip Zdarsky's run during that King in Black thing. He's consumed by the symbiote suit, right, or the symbiote, and he electrocutes himself and frees himself in like a matter of 2 pages.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that it didn't make sense. It didn't fit the character. It felt like a dead end for everything. You were wondering if it was going to end with them killing him off and putting somebody else in the costume, because there was definitely a lot of that going on at the time, and so it just did not work at all.
Yeah, you don't do a Daredevil heel turn. It just doesn't work for the character. Everybody loves Daredevil. Plus, nobody wants to see an evil handicap person. That's weird.
There's only one way to do the heel turn for Daredevil, and that's you reveal he actually could see the entire time, and he would sneak into women's locker rooms. That is the heel. Yeah.
That's the one that would do it.
Yeah.
Now this next one is what would be something a little bit more classic. I think nowadays it's probably looked on a little bit more favorably than it was when it happened. I don't personally like Ron Mars, but he's got some good stuff that goes on with Green Lantern, but his heel turn on Hal Jordan becoming Parallax in Emerald Twilight doesn't really make sense for the character. We've seen him suffer tremendous amounts of loss before. He never goes crazy, but all of a sudden Coast City gets destroyed and he starts wiping out other Green Lanterns.
Yeah, that was and people hated this at the time. And in fact, in many ways, it's kind of been memories old. It's funny you mention that. I'm actually going to be talking to Ron Mars in a couple days here. And this is one of the key questions is we hear people say that, it's only recently that the fans have gotten really outraged about things. But if you were in a comic shop or ran a comic shop back during this storyline, it was easily hated. It was only eclipsed years later by One More Day. That was, people absolutely hated every part of that storyline and everything else. And I do think it came across as, DC trying to be edgy like Marvel. They were trying to, take this same kind of, you won't expect this dark and gritty, kind of this Watchmen light aspect. It didn't fit. Now I agree with you. I think it was redeemed later, and I think, they made the best of it. But at the time, it was terrible.
We get the one cool cover where he's got all the rings on his finger. He's clearly maniacal.
Yeah.
But, that's about the only good thing. But, well, not the only good thing. We get Kyle Rayner out of it, right? He becomes the primary Earth Green Lantern after the demise of Hal Jordan. So he got elevated in Hal Jordan's place after he was killed.
Yeah, and I think Kyle Rayner is a character too that was a good addition to the DC universe. I think they haven't done anywhere close to as much as they need to with that character. I think there's a lot of untapped potential there and things they can do. We saw a bit of it, of course, with Brightest Day and some of those storylines. You got some interesting things there, but no, I mean it was that part was good outcome. But the heel turn itself was fairly sudden and just didn't fit Hal, it felt like you were dumping decades of stories and personality.
And it was redundant. You already have Sinestro, who was like the most powerful Green Lantern, who succumbed to the power of fear and had already done his heel turn. And he was like diametrically opposed to Hal Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it wasn't necessary. And again, the speed at which it happened just did not help and made it. Yeah, nobody liked this, I guess. It's the best way to put it.
But people kind of look back on it now. They're all right with it.
Yeah, I think Jeff Johns did a lot to kind of rehab the whole thing. And people do appreciate that Kyle Rayner happened because of this, especially that annoying.
Jeff Johns doesn't.
Well, no, but I think a lot of people look back at the good things. You got your Kyle Rayner, you got your Jeff Johns kind of story there. You got that annoying bitch stuffed in a freezer. You got a lot of good things that came out of that run.
Absolutely. You're frigid. We got Gail Simone out of this. Whoa.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Wow, I didn't even thought about it that way. You're talking about fifth order effects. Gail Simone becomes a thing because Hal Jordan became Parallax.
Yeah. That happened.
That's enough reason to hate that thing right there. That's the worst heel turn ever. It should have been number one.
We turned it around.
Now, there have been a lot of heel turns on the X-Men team.
Yes.
The first big one, the one that really works, obviously, is Jean Grey becoming Dark Phoenix, one of the greatest comic stories of all time, if not the greatest X-Men story ever. I don't think it's quite number one, but it's definitely up there. But they've tried to turn every other character, or at least feels like every other X-Men heel at one time or another. I don't think it really works for the other heroes. They're trying to recatch lightning in a bottle. The one that I think just never, ever works, and they keep trying. They've really ruined the character until recently is Cyclops.
Yeah, for sure. I think Cyclops. Well, the problem with Cyclops is they did the brief kind of semi-heel turn when he was under Apocalypse's thrall way back, but then more recently with the schism and kind of the fight with Wolverine and becoming more militaristic, and then under the influence of the Phoenix killing Professor X and all that kind of stuff. The problem is in the more recent heel turns, too many of the fans were like, "Yeah, he's right." Having, dumb Xavier just kind of hanging around doing nothing and being an annoying, pain in the ass for 30 years, creeping on Jean Grey, in his mind. It's there's a lot of sympathy for Cyclops. So that heel turn didn't fit. And Marvel has kind of awkwardly kind of continued to take, it feels a lot about like how Vince McMahon makes you feel about Roman Reigns. It's like, no, he was evil. It's like, you keep telling us that, but the fans don't really feel that way. And it doesn't matter how many times you say it, we're not buying it. And so, yeah, I think that one was bad, but you're right. The X-Men in general have a long history of just terrible, ill thought out heel turns, including, I know people have fondness of the 90s, but the entire Onslaught business was pretty stupid at the time, I think.
Oh man, Doc, and you would have words. We talked about that yesterday or today on the channel, and I was like, that was one of the worst comic stories ever that just killed Ruds. He's like, Onslaught was needed. I don't know, man.
Needed for what? I mean, again, people have fond memories of the 90s and some of this stuff, but if you were in real time reading these comics, it was annoying. It was an annoying kind of mashup, and it was also happening during the kickoff of Heroes Were Born. You had the Avengers all in a weird state. I mean, like the Marvel Universe was an absolute colossal mess, and this is just one piece of it. But anyway.
That's why he said Onslaught was needed, because the Marvel Universe was a mess, and they needed to just send him into a pocket universe that contained him for a while.
Yeah, and sure. I mean, that outcome was fine, but this was just one more. That character and that heel turn was just one more mess of it.
Yeah, I do like the Havoc heel turn. Obviously, he's always had like a little bit of gray to him. The other one that never works, and they keep trying it. They keep trying to do the Stone Cold heel turn, which no one's ever going to accept, is making Wolverine a bad guy.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, when he was also under the influence of Apocalypse, that was another one. But yeah, I mean, all these characters, they don't fit. I'm trying to think now who has. I mean, obviously Colossus had his heel turn, joined Magneto. I don't think Storm ever did she? I mean, unless you count the one issue where she's kind of a vampire, but.
Well, remember in Ten of Swords, she storms Wakanda and beats all the royal guards and almost kills T'Challa's sister.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, at this point in Krakoa, aren't all the X-Men kind of evil at this point? I mean, they're all
one massive heel turn.
Drug dealers, drug addicts at this point. So
it's like WCW invading the WWE. They're just all bad guys, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they're all crazy. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
It never works with Cyclops, though.
Just leave
Cyclops alone. He's much better as the leader of the team and one of the few, besides Nightcrawler, like one of the foundational characters that keeps things leveled.
Yeah, it doesn't work with him. Absolutely not.
Now, this next heel turn, we're going to Marvel again. I don't think this character has ever recovered. Now, Tony Stark has done some things in the past, but normally he's been redeemed. We're still waiting for him to be redeemed from Civil War, where he became essentially the enormous villain in that one, where he was, with the mutant registration and deciding to take down all of his friends and everything. And I don't know, is he a hero yet? He still feels like a villain, and the way Captain Marvel treats him, he's just a kind of a POS.
Yeah, I think Iron Man is a product of them. In many cases, the Matt Fraction run where he lost his memory and had to kind of reboot it in some ways. I mean, it feels like they continue to try and just walk away from the huge parts of that character's history that they don't like. But then the only story they know to go to is, oh, he's a futurist, and sometimes he lets the technology get out of control. Let's run that again. And then he has to be humbled because he can't rely on the technology. And then he gets rich and he has technology again. And they just keep going.
And he wants to bang the technology and he wants to drink the technology.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think Iron Man, I don't know. It's different than a heel turn like these others, but they've never, with him, they don't bother to ever really go through a redemption arc because they want to keep hitting the same story over and over again.
Do you think it's because he's, he's like a billionaire? And no billionaire can ever be good. So he's just, even though he's a hero, he's like just a shitty person altogether.
I think there's a lot of that. I think that the writers are like, well, he's rich and he's a tech guy. So therefore we kind of always have to write him like he's, like he has to apologize constantly for being who he is. I think there's absolutely a big part of that goes on. And it's very frustrating for sure.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, he's the reason that Captain America was assassinated.
Yeah. I think it's the same reason, by the way, a lot of writers struggle with writing the Fantastic Four, because there's also no context where it's like, okay, it's a family where there's
they love each other.
They love each other, and there's a patriarchal kind of the Reed is the bright one, and no, just the writers just hate this concept, so it's always going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's crazy. I still like the moment where who was it? Was it Daredevil that spits out the coin at Tony?
Yeah.
So here's your piece of silver or whatever.
It's funny. I like that scene too. I know that there are people who hate that scene. I think the frequent guest on your channel and kind of retro compatriot Joe. I think Joe hates that scene as well. You should ask him about it next time.
Well, he's clearly got bad taste in comics.
Well, that one scene divides a lot of people. I think it's completely on point for Daredevil and what was going on at the time, and I thought it was great, but. What do I know?
I thought it was good stuff. I like that moment.
Yeah, me too.
Let's get to the last one. This is the one that will never work, no matter how hard they try. They've created an entire universe over this heel turn.
Mm-hmm.
That Superman would just lose it, take over the world, and start killing people because he lost his wife, no matter what, is beyond ridiculous. They keep trying to do the Superman heel turn. I think it was successful in Red Sun because it's an alternate universe. He landed in a different place. He didn't get raised by Mom and Pa Kent, so he doesn't have the values that are instilled into him by his parents. So it kind of works in that context. But anything within a normal Superman or a DC universe where Clark Kent is raised by his parents, it never makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that at least half of Red Sun and why it works is just simply Mark Millar is a good writer. So he actually knows how to make it work. I think that's some of the missing DNA there. But yeah, I mean, Superman, you're going against so many core parts of the character, and then unfortunately, then you do get into the trap that a lot of writers talk about, which is he's super powerful. So now you've got this unstoppable person who's acting completely against character flying around. It's a bad trap to go down. And I think that's one of the problems with heel turns. You want that shocking moment, but you really have no idea what to do after that shocking moment. And there's no
get out of jail free card on that one. You've got yourself there. How are you going to get out?
Yeah, exactly. And that's
who's going to stop him? Batman? What, he's evil?
Yeah, way too many people. Anyway, I think that unfortunately, like Iron Man, like Fantastic Four, there's this idea of like, well, what if this super powerful dude was a fascist? And let's have that story. That's the go-to for too many people. And it's, again, there's no end game. There's no, they know how to start the story. Nobody knows how to finish that story because there isn't a good finish to that story.
Have you noticed we're getting that story right now with Superman, Son of Kal-El?
To some extent, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they see it that way, but I do think we'll see. I mean, I did the interview with Philip Kennedy Johnson. He's obviously had some exposure into what Tom Taylor's going toward. He says it's going to be great. It's going to surprise a lot of people. I hope so. A good story there would be if John does these things, and because he's young and inexperienced, doesn't understand the consequences, and it bites him, and he realizes that you can't solve problems that way, and he gains more respect for his father for the way he did his business. This story began with John saying, "Why don't you do more?" And now maybe we're going to get, my best case scenario is we get several issues where John does more and realizes it's not that simple. That would be a good outcome for that story. But I don't think that's where it's going. But that'd be nice.
My best case scenario is a little bit more cynical than yours.
Well, sure.
My best case scenario is everyone sees through the bullshit, the thing gets canceled because no one buys it. Okay. We don't get a finish to it. And they just memory hold the shit.
Fair enough.
For the next crisis.
I would love.
You don't believe Tom Taylor can land this one, do you? Don't lie to me.
No, I don't. Well, I don't believe that they'll want to tell that story. I think it's too. Everybody thinks short term, and I don't think anybody's going to want to do a story where, we realize that. The problem is it's such a logical story to tell. It elevates everyone. And this, going back to wrestling, when you do a heel turn and you do a match, the goal is that everyone comes out at the end better, that everything elevates up. When The Rock kind of did his heel turn, it elevated everybody around him with the nation and the people he was fighting against and everything else. It brought everyone up. Same thing.
Everyone felt bad for Mick Foley, put him in the main event.
Exactly.
His Undertaker stuff.
You got more money out of everyone. Same thing with the NWO at the beginning. Same thing with Steve Austin. So if you look at this situation, a very good logical story would be John does these actions, goes too far, loses trust, kind of tarnishes Superman and what that means a little bit, and has to redeem himself and has to realize that he didn't know everything, which is a good arc for him because he is young and inexperienced and hasn't been dealing with this stuff. So it would be logical for him to make those mistakes, and it would grow him. It would also grow Superman, because Superman then gets redeemed a little bit of, this is why it's hard to be Superman. This is why he is good at what he does. Everybody benefits from that situation. You could even see a world where Lois and others would benefit from that situation, but I don't think we're getting any of that.
No, this is absolutely not. I can see what the future is as far as Superman, Son of Kal-El, but that's the worst heel turn. They keep trying it and trying it. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit the character. It never feels natural with the character progression, and it's almost always rejected by the readers for a reason.
So I'm surprised. So this is your list. There's a couple names I'm surprised didn't come up.
Well, it's just a preliminary list.
Well, where's Wally West on this list? The Wally West heel turn is terrible.
I don't know. That one's weird.
How about
I have a video on the entire Heroes in Crisis like retrospective coming up in a day or two. I didn't want to talk about it again.
Okay, fair enough. I won't spoil that thunder, but I think the Captain America Secret Empire.
That one's everyone's go-to. That was one of my 5 moments that killed comic stories.
That's fair. Okay. I think, that's the Punisher heel turn where he just started shooting people for jaywalking and stuff. That was also stupid, less known.
Is that really a heel turn? I don't like jaywalkers. I feel like the Punisher might have been right on that one.
Okay, fair
Find
enough.
a crosswalk, assholes. What are you doing to us?
Well, anyway, I think your point is right. There's been some terrible heel turns in comics, and probably more bad ones than good ones, actually.
Absolutely. My dog's doing a heel turn out there right now. She's losing her little mind.
Very good. Well,
all right, Perch. I do want to say thank you very much. Do you have any final words?
No, just thank you very much. This is always a fun topic. We'll come back and do it again.
Absolutely. Later, brother.
Take care.